Shrouding the Heavens, Episode 320. At the end of the previous episode, Yi Fan transformed his body into an immortal furnace, using the flames of the 10,000 Daos to temper and refine his true self. His form shifted between a furnace and a cauldron, shocking everyone. The Black Emperor believed that if Yi Fan succeeded, he would achieve a truly heaven-defying transformation. As brilliant divine light surrounded him, Yi Fan appeared like an ancient deity reborn. Everyone began to wonder whether he was finally recovering from his downfall and preparing to return to the ranks of the strongest, the divine physique. Yi Fan might be rising up once more. At this moment, this was the thought in everyone's mind. They were all indescribably shocked. A person who was confirmed to be half-crippled had already gone into seclusion without any light or future. Yet today, he was going to defy the heavens. Millions of streaks of fiery light gathered strand after strand from the clouds in all directions, turning into the most resplendent divine splendor, illuminating the clear, void sky. Yi Fan sat there, his body turning into a Dao furnace, accepting the baptism of all Dao origin flames. His body was undergoing a type of indescribable transformation. "Kill him," someone roared, launching an even more ferocious attack. Anyone could see that he was developing in a good direction. Perhaps he might walk out of his lowest point and once again ascend to the peak. This was a result that many people didn't want to see, especially when the Divine Court's forces were in confrontation with the Celestial Court. They were destined to be enemies. So how could they tolerate this type of thing happening? The various great commanders exerted force together. The 8 great armies' Dao patterns surged wave after wave like furious waves, drowning out everything and smashing towards Yi Fan. He was like duckweed, rising and falling in the vast ocean, but he never sank, persevering and indomitable. His willpower never wavered. The people of the Divine Court naturally saw that Yi Fan was using this opportunity to transform, but they had no choice. If they missed out on this day, their chances would be slim. Right now, using violent methods to destroy him was the best choice. One side activated great Dao symbols with all their might, wanting to kill him here and now. The other side did everything they could to guide the 10,000 Dao origin flames to refine their bodies, fighting against the waves that could shatter their bones at any time. Hong, the quasi-emperor killing formation, was effective. This time, there were a total of 64 enormous streaks of light that swept over. When they landed on Yi Fan's body, they turned into an 8-trigram symbol. Those fine patterns were profound and unfathomable. However, they were all used, absorbed into his body. In front of Yi Fan, the figures of the Stone Emperor, Reincarnation Supreme Being, Void Emperor, and the others had all flashed past. Those were the traces of them tangling together, like a giant heavenly net that filtered out these attacks. Raging flames burned, Dao laws erupting, making mountains and rivers lose color. Sun and moon lose radiance. Tens of thousands of Dao flames flew over, causing the sun, moon, and stars to tremble. The great stars in the distance changed their trajectories one after another, trembling in the boundless and immeasurable fluctuations. Then, some of them exploded with a loud rumble, like blooming fireworks. Everyone was horrified. Just how great of a power was this? Even from such a great distance, the remnant ripples still created such a terrifying scene. It truly made one's hair stand on end. Yi Fan transformed into a furnace, wrapped in tens of thousands of streaks of fiery light. One moment he transformed into a cauldron. The next moment he transformed into a furnace, and the next moment he transformed into a bell and a pagoda. When he was in human form, he looked like a monarch. His precious appearance was dignified and made people revere him. In his body, divine lamps lit up one after another, tearing through the darkness, making the divine chains of order and other things sealed in his flesh tremble, releasing hualala sounds about to revive. This was a transformation that broke through the shackles of the fleshly body, breaking through the shackles of the heavens. His magic, his Dao was being revived, but it was incomparably difficult. The areas that lit up were still too few. Compared to his entire body, There were only specks of light, as if stars were embedded in the curtain of night. How could it be like this? Everyone from Divine Court was shaken. Just how powerful was this person to be able to stop such a ferocious attack? The 8 divine generals, Divine Court's great army of 1,000,000. Even though not all of them rushed up, it was still terrifying enough. If it was any other great sage, they would have instantly turned into scattered ashes. However, Yi Fan blocked it, not dying the entire time. This result left everyone horrified. There wasn't a single person who wasn't shocked. He was too powerful. Was he really going to become a quasi-emperor? His body has always tangled with the Supreme Being's remnant scars, fighting against them. No wonder he is like this, able to survive even like this, endure for 300 years, truly frightening. This was a miracle. All those who understood a bit, understood a portion of the truth. All of their expressions changed. This was challenging the limit of the human body's potential in this cultivation realm. This was a legend. Yumo's expression was bleak. He was hailed as a prodigy, and the Celestial Palace called him the 3rd prodigy in 300 years. However, compared to the declining Sant physique, his so-called halo was nothing. At this moment, he understood what a miracle was. He was like a firefly facing the bright moon. Yulan's face was similarly pale. He refused to accept Ye Fan, believing that his reputation from 300 years ago was nothing more than an undeserved reputation, that this legend was just coincidentally created. If he caught up, then his brilliance would also illuminate the world. However, now, he was trembling. When faced with those Supreme Beings' remnant scars, even from so far away, he was still greatly alarmed, let alone fighting inside his body, resisting them. There were quite a few people like this. In the past, they only knew that Ye Fan survived with difficulty, but now they truly understood the hidden details. All of them felt that this was inconceivable, that this was a legend, tangling with the Supreme Being's remnant scars. Not dying. Just how heaven-defying of a performance was this? Everyone believed that if news of this reached the 9 imperial passes, the only true path, it would definitely make many people unable to sleep, feel uneasy. Meanwhile, right now, it was Divine Court's people who had to face this. All of their faces were snow white, extremely ugly. What are you all still waiting for? Everyone, do everything you can to kill him. Our Tao flames aren't for him, but to burn him to ashes, erase his spirit, someone roared. At the same time, a scarlet bloodhammer flew out, carrying resplendent multicolored light. It was as if a mountain was moving, quickly enlarging. In the end, it turned into a blood mountain, crushing towards Ye Fan, quasi-emperor artifact. Divine Court's people truly became anxious. There was no time to waste. They definitely couldn't help Ye Fan today, but rather kill him. Otherwise, this would become Divine Court's nightmare, the greatest source of disaster. You dare, Celestial Court's side shouted loudly. Yan Yixi opened his mouth, spitting out a divine furnace that was only the size of an infant's fist. He activated it together with Li Tian Weng. The quasi-emperor furnace enlarged, becoming resplendent and dazzling, like a mountain or sea. It flew towards the center of the battlefield, stopping that giant bloodhammer. Yu Ruo's eyes released cold lightning. The scarlet bloodhammer was precisely the one who struck out, one of Divine Court's few divine artifacts. She wanted to destroy Ye Fan, not give him a chance. However, she knew that if it faced the goddess furnace head-on, the scarlet bloodhammer would undoubtedly be destroyed. It was because, not long ago, when they attacked Purple Star Domain, this furnace already destroyed a quasi-emperor artifact. Su, the scarlet bloodhammer slid to the side, avoiding the goddess furnace, not facing it head-on, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Meanwhile, the goddess furnace didn't move, suspending there, quietly protecting him, carrying out deterrence. At this time, Divine Court's million-strong army all moved. Endless great Tao fragments flew about, all types of weapons flickering with brilliance, turning into large amounts of Tao light, submerging Ye Fan within. The world's great Tao was endless. Some said that there were 3,000 great Taos. Some said that all Taos returned to the source. Some said that the natural laws were endless, simply innumerable. Now, all kinds of Tao danced about. Even though some were weak, they represented a direction, a path that led to the other shore, a path that connected to the end of the world. All of them appeared. In this million-strong army, every single one of their great Tao fragments rushed out, in addition to the interweaving laws in their weapons, turning this place into a sea of Tao. Yi Fan didn't move like a pine tree, no longer moving up and down. Like a boulder, his body turned into a cauldron, a furnace alternating between the two. Occasionally, a large bell would appear between his brows, and an immortal pagoda would shake out from within his body. His flesh was shining, like a universe, and he wanted to break this layer of heaven and earth, reviving the true self-laws sealed within and reappearing in the world. The Stone Emperor, Void Emperor, Heaven abandoning supreme, and the others stood on the side, filtering the millions of flames. The flames were strong, roasting Yi Fan, tempering his body. Yi Fan's entire body was shining, and a mysterious aura was being emitted. It was as if a dormant great emperor was about to be awakened, making people feel more and more reverence. Within his body, the divine lamp illuminated eternally. In the blink of an eye, half of his body was lit up, as if a divine rainbow had passed through, and his entire body was surrounded by multicolored brilliance. The blood of the divine body was reviving, rumbling like thunder. There was a supreme aura pervading the air, making it hard for people to breathe. The divine body is really going to return, and it will rise again after 300 years. The people of the God's punishment city were waiting, and the people of the divine court all had ugly expressions. They actually couldn't stop it, not even the quasi-emperor's weapon. However, when Yi Fan's body lit up more than half, the number of divine lamps in Yi Fan's body stopped increasing, making many people nervous. He snorted coldly and shook the endless great Tao fragments out of his body. Then, his flesh and blood trembled, and his bones crackled. With a boom, he stood up, and all the divine lamps in his body instantly blazed brilliantly, exploding, making his flesh and blood seem to be burning. Wenglong. A terrifying aura spread out, and the pressure of a quasi-emperor erupted, causing a terrifying domain to form in this place. Those fragments of the great path spun and circled around him. His flesh has become an emperor. His flesh is going to transform into the quasi-emperor. Everyone cried out in alarm. In this life, for the sake of survival, Yi Fan had bitterly endured for 300 years. No one would have thought that he would become the quasi-emperor so quickly. It was truly shocking. Oh ho! When Yi Fan's body was about to ignite the flames of the quasi-emperor and break through the shackles, the figures in front of him, the Stone Emperor, the Lord of Samsara, Heaven abandoning supreme, and the others all roared loudly. At this moment, the stellar domain trembled, and a few falling stars exploded. The Supreme Being's remnant scars were like this, terrifying to the extreme. At the same time, all of the great Tao fragments turned around and flew towards everyone. Muffled groans sounded as they entered the bodies of the Divine Court's million-strong army, making everyone tremble violently, their bones broken and tendons torn. This was a terrifying scene. It was just the power of a single person, yet it injured everyone. What is going on? The laws and order within his body haven't even truly struggled free. So how can he have this type of power? His flesh became an emperor. This is using the flesh to become the quasi-emperor. A different Tao, a different path. The great sage within the divine punishment was horrified, revealing the truth. Ah! The divine court's people were thrown into chaos, and the endless great army suffered heavy losses. This was simply like a legend, all of it done by a single person. The people of the divine court side were all alarmed. Who said that the divine body declined? Who said that the divine body fell into a miserable state? Who said that the divine body became dim, that it had no fate with the path of hegemony? At this moment, he used facts to declare that he had returned. Everyone knew that Yi Fan wasn't willing to be left out, that he was going to defy the heavens and fight on the path he had never finished. Meanwhile, the Divine Court's people all felt a wave of fear. This was the Divine Court Lord's greatest enemy. If they didn't kill him now, they wouldn't be able to kill him in the future, No one could stop his rise. Hong! Thunderclaps descended from the sky. Enormous lightning streaked across the sky, tearing apart the tranquility of the world, shaking the boundless cosmos, leaving everyone horrified. Was this the quasi-emperor tribulation? However, Yi Fan's divine chains of order still hadn't appeared. It really is the emperor through the flesh. His flesh has been refined. His flesh has transformed into the quasi-emperor's body. Everyone was stupefied, spellbound, the enormous lightning hacked down, the terrifying radiance illuminating the divine court's people until their faces became snow white. Yu Ruo's body trembled intensely, involuntarily backing up, her beautiful lips trembling. Her father had an enemy, Hong Long Long. The enormous lightning radiance was like immortal light, illuminating the dark and ice-cold cosmos. The vast and boundless starry skies were all trembling. There was a figure that was like a demonic god standing there with his head held high, facing the heavens, his head of black hair fluttering about, standing tall within the lightning radiance. Even though the word accurate was added, it was still world-shocking. One has to understand that it was already extremely difficult for Ye Fan to survive and had already quietly retired. Now, he actually returned like this. The two words quasi-emperor were as heavy as Mount Tai, suffocating everyone. Yi Fan possessed this kind of body. Even if there were no natural order laws, he could still move unhindered through the cosmos. How many people could keep him in check? The key was that this type of development made everyone tremble. If the Lord of the Divine Court knew about this, he definitely wouldn't be able to sit still. Lightning rumbled. Countless streaks of lightning interweaved in the cosmos, turning into streaks of dragons. They moved their tails and hacked towards Ye Fan's body. Streak after streak of blazing lightning streaked across the originally dark starry sky, illuminating eternity. Yi Fan was contending against the heavenly punishment. It was clear that the heavenly tribulation this time was different from the past. It didn't seem like it was that powerful, but its power had increased by who knew how many times. Oh how! Everyone truly heard the roars of dragons. Several great dragons made their way out from the sea of lightning, their bodies covered densely in green dragon scales. Their bodies were as sturdy as mountain ranges as they threw themselves at Ye Fan. This is the great tribulation that descended for the sake of achieving quasi-emperor through the fleshly body. Everyone was shaken. Even though they were separated by an endless distance, they still trembled. Every single fine hair stood on end. How could those dragons be so real? They even released dragon cries, as if they were still alive. It really was splitting the 9 heavens, suppressing the 9 hells. Everyone's scalps went numb. This was too concrete and vivid, similar to the extreme. The green true dragon circled about, opening its mouth and reaching out its claws. It slaughtered towards Ye Fan, wishing to destroy him. Becoming an emperor was heaven-defying. Even the word accurate was the same. When one approached this domain, the heavens felt threatened, wishing to suppress and kill. Yi Fan's body flickered with precious splendor. The blood within his body released tsunami-like sounds, cleansing his flesh. His thick black hair danced about, his eyes like cold lightning. He looked towards the sky, treating everything seriously, his expression extremely serious. This was an opportunity, possibly a transformation. After crossing this barrier, he could move unhindered through the cosmos, even without the natural order laws. Without the corresponding great divine abilities of quasi-emperor, he could still move unhindered through the world just by relying on this body. Boom! The gigantic body of a true dragon directly smashed down. Its body shattered the starry sky, and many meteors were crushed into powder. Its body coiled around like a millstone, causing people's scalps to go cold. That type of power was incomparable. Everyone believed that no matter how many great sages there were, they would all be crushed into meat paste by the dragon's body. There was a type of power fluctuation that couldn't be resisted. However, Yi Fan was able to withstand it. He used his divine physique to take it head-on. His fists shattered the vacuum, and the true celestial Thirk fist was unleashed in front of everyone, allowing them to see how terrifying he was. Too terrifying. No wonder there are rumors saying that even though he had lost his magic and Tao, he was still able to kill off the longevity celestial being's disciple before leaving the only path of truth. Yi Fan crisscrossed the sky, punching out one punch after another. Every punch drew blood, landing on the green dragon's body. The dragon's scales were damaged and blood splattered everywhere. It was extremely realistic. Was it formed by lightning? Everyone was suspicious. The green scales and dragon blood were both so solid. Ow, how! The green dragon felt pain and leapt up. One of its claws had been broken by Yi Fan, and it fled into the cosmos, smashing a great star into pieces. Everyone was horrified. It was directly destroying celestial bodies and continuously roaring. It was clearly a living creature. There shouldn't really be life, right? A flood dragon with the body of the quasi-emperor descended here from the immortal domain. There were some people who were suspicious and had this kind of thought. Roar! The green dragon turned around again, and the other dragons also attacked in front of Yi Fan. An intense battle broke out there. No one could say for sure what realm the green dragon was at. It seemed like it had the body of the quasi-emperor, but it also seemed like the lightning formed from a single strike of the quasi-emperor. It was undoubtedly exceptionally powerful, and no one here dared to contend against it. Even Yi Fan's expression was grave. His fists drew blood, and not only the dragon's blood, but also his own. Even the bones of his fingers could be seen. However, he didn't seem to know pain and didn't pay it any attention. He only stared at the green dragons and brandished his celestial emperor's fists. 1, 2. A total of 8 dragons appeared in the sea of lightning. Every time their enormous bodies circled about, they would destroy many falling stars. They possessed intimidating divine might. Roar! After the final dragon roar, an even larger dragon appeared. It swallowed several stars in one gulp, and the radiance it spat out was like a river of stars, boundless and boundless. This region of the starry sky was in great turmoil. Yi Fan naturally bore the brunt of it and resisted fiercely there. Everyone was horrified, especially the Divine Palace army. They rejoiced inwardly that they retreated, or else this lightning tribulation would destroy all of them. No one could stop it. Li Haishui sneered and said, "Little Ye is soft-hearted and doesn't want to kill all of them. Otherwise, do they think they can escape?" Back then, he borrowed the lightning tribulation to eliminate many great enemies. It's good that they don't have to suffer so many deaths. Otherwise, Yu Cheng will be in great trouble. That's the boundless flames of the mortal world, and they will find him sooner or later, the Black Emperor said. It was rare for the black-faced, large black dog to be merciful to an enemy he hated dearly. But there was a reason for it. He had followed an ancient emperor before, and knew many secrets that ordinary people didn't know. "We've stabilized. We've finally gained the upper hand," Dongfang Ye said, completely relieved. The barbarian's upper body was bare, and he had the most primitive aura of a wild beast. To the enemy, he was very dangerous. The 9 dragons were wailing, and even the bones of Yi Fan's fists were exposed. However, it was as if he didn't know pain, and with an unchanging frequency and eternal pulse, he attacked with all his strength. He struck the 9 green dragons until they trembled and wailed continuously. All of them either had their claws shattered or half of their bodies broken. They were all heavily injured and couldn't get close to him. He released a long roar, and the radiance around his body became even more brilliant. The true blood of his saint body boiled, and a bright red color dyed his fists. Those wounds quickly healed, and the bones in his hands were covered. He adjusted his body to its most powerful state and quickly charged out. He stepped on the back of the true dragon, and his fists brandished about, striking out with the greatest power. One after another, they were forced to crawl under his feet. Yi Fan released a loud roar. He turned into a cauldron, and his body was concealed. He floated there, and the 9 green dragons were suppressed below him. He's actually a human and hasn't changed at all. It's just that his state and the aura he's emitting makes others feel like he's a cauldron. Unless one has a special heaven's eye, they won't be able to see the truth, the Black Emperor said. The space between his brows split open, and a vertical eye was revealed. There was a dim light contained within. The 9 green dragons were suppressed by Ye Fan, and they wailed there. Their mouths continuously spewed out celestial light, and they burned fiercely like flames, roasting the cauldron. And for Ye Fan, this was actually a kind of tempering. He drew upon the 9 powerful and mysterious creatures that took form in the lightning tribulation, and borrowed their power to temper his body. Boom! The sea of lightning above erupted, and boundless energy gathered towards the 9 dragons, causing them to become many times thicker. However, it was still useless, and they couldn't break free from the cauldron's suppression. Only when the 9 true dragons were obliterated, turning into light and Tao laws to be refined into Ye Fan's body, did the sea of lightning explode, and weapons flew out one after another. Yi. There aren't any ancient great emperors appearing this time. Strange, his appearance is different from when he was crossing tribulation in the past. Could it be because his body has become a quasi-emperor? Yan Yixi was astonished. He isn't simple either. Those are terrifying weapons, and they're very difficult to deal with. The weapons that flew out weren't simple. The first was a cauldron, a 3-legged, 2-eared circular cauldron. The mouth of the cauldron was suffused with primal chaos, and it suppressed downwards, capable of both offense and defense. Next was a large bell, and its long and drawn-out sound caused the entire cosmos's starry rivers to tremble. Finally, there was an ancient pagoda that possessed the might to suppress the 33 layers of heaven. There were also heavenly swords that hacked over, and great halberds descended. Each and every one of them possessed extremely powerful offensive power. Ye Fan resisted, and he faced them with his bare hands. It was as if he was forging iron here, and sonorous sounds rang out. His entire body was covered in blood, and he was currently doing something astonishing, transforming one weapon after another into his body. This could be said to be risking his life, and he could easily explode himself. Every weapon was relatively dangerous, and they were the embodiment of a type of heaven and earth's fundamental Tao laws. However, he was using them to forge his own body, treating them like Tao flames. In the end, the bones in Ye Fan's body crackled, and his entire body was covered in blood. His body trembled like a sonorous song, and it seemed like he would collapse at any moment. He was persevering, absorbing these weapons into his body one by one, triggering their resonance, allowing these Tao fragments to burn and refine within his flesh. Boom! Ye Fan's body seemed like it was about to explode. His white bones were exposed, bright red blood and golden blood dripping down. It was an extremely terrifying sight. However, his flesh possessed a type of astonishing recovery power. Even during the lightning tribulation, he could still quickly recover. That was because his physique had evolved to a type of extreme realm. During these 300 years, his body's purification and sublimation had always continued. The bloody battle against a supreme being had left a deep impact on him. His flesh remembered everything from that time, and it made him work hard to evolve and transform in a certain direction. Ye Fan resisted all of the weapons, even though he narrowly escaped death. And there was one time when even his frontal bone was shattered, and his primordial spirit was almost cleaved in half. He still made it through. In the end, he absorbed all of the weapons into his body, and then tossed them out again. Meanwhile, his primordial spirit also used this to undergo a round of tempering. That golden little figure brandished its fists and legs, fighting against all of the weapons. "Cauldron, come!" Ye Fan shouted loudly. The void was torn apart, and the all-life energy cauldron appeared, floating above his head. It crossed the tribulation with his flesh and primordial spirit, and those weapons, even more so, became the cauldron's most desired target. They collided violently. Even though many cracks appeared on the cauldron during this process, it still didn't shatter. It devoured all of the weapons, refining them into its own body. Everyone was shocked. This cauldron really was special. Even though those weapons were about to split apart from Ye Fan's attacks, the fact that it could devour them like this was still world-shocking. Hong, the sea of lightning surged, crushing downwards. There were mountains, rivers, birds, and beasts within. Upon closer inspection, it was a vivid and lifelike world. On the great earth, there were Kunpeng, white tiger, flying serpent, vermilion bird, and other legendary creatures roaming about. Soon after, Yi Fan was submerged. Divine might shone resplendently there. Something's not right. What kind of place is that? Could it be that it's imitating immortal domain? It's different from the heavenly tribulation of the past. The Black Emperor revealed a serious expression. The heavenly tribulation this time was extremely strange. Those mountains, rivers, and all living things seemed to have condensed a type of great power. His chest was directly split open. Li Heishui cried out in alarm. This was just the beginning. Yet Ye Fan already suffered such an attack. The mountains, rivers, and all living things had spirits. The Kun Peng, flying serpent, white tiger, vermilion bird, and so on. All of them were like real beast deities. They were too powerful. How sturdy was Ye Fan's physical body? Yet it was able to produce such a result. This kind of lightning tribulation was absolutely terrifying, far exceeding common sense. The only thing that made people rejoice was that the recovery speed of Ye Fan's physical body was too fast. In the blink of an eye, his flesh and bones were reconnected. The quasi-emperor's body was extremely astonishing. The cauldron, primordial spirit, and torso suffered a calamity. The heavens collapsed and the earth split apart. Ghosts wept and gods howled. There were too many strange creatures there. Some were prehistoric creatures. Some were great devils recorded in ancient texts. Some were gods and devils. Some were vermilion birds, heavenly ghosts, and so on. Everyone in the divine court was excited. It seemed like even Ye Fan couldn't resist this kind of calamity. His physical body had shattered several times, and even the cauldron had been broken and reconstructed several times. Why is it so strange? It seems like Ye Fan is having a bit of a hard time. Can he make it through? Li Heishui said softly, revealing a worried expression. The heavenly tribulation this time was different from the past. There weren't any great ancient emperors appearing, but it was similarly incomparably terrifying. It could take one's life at every turn. If it was anyone else, they would undoubtedly die. Hateful. Yezi can't display the laws and Tao. Otherwise, the situation would be even better. This might be a rare opportunity for him. He can't rely on divine abilities and can only rely on his physical body and primordial spirit to resist the heavenly tribulation. The more vicious the tempering, the greater the benefits. The Black Emperor said, Hong. Under a series of violent explosions, that place became blazing. Nothing could be seen anymore. It was clear that the lightning punishment had suddenly increased several times. It was truly world-destroying. Many stars in that region directly disappeared, blasted into cosmic dust and turned into flying ashes. Then all living things in that region, including the Kun Peng, gods and devils, vermilion birds, and heavenly ghosts, all disappeared. The cosmos became clear again. It ended extremely suddenly. The vermilion bird, demonic god, flying serpent, Kun Peng and the others all disappeared. The most terrifying lightning tribulation came to an abrupt end. A few stars turned into dust, becoming ruined traces. There was blood there, as well as battle-clothes fragments, even more so a broken body. This type of boundless heavenly tribulation almost wiped out even Ye Fan's body and spirit. Everyone recovered from the terrifying lightning tribulation, and their expressions became serious. They all had different thoughts and reactions. Li Heishui, Li Tian, and the others were naturally worried. That body had lost all signs of life. The people of the divine court were excited. Many wanted to roar towards the sky. There was no better news than this. They were all nervous as they stared at the scene. Had Ye Fan died, they had never heard of or seen this kind of tribulation. Its power was peerless. If Ye Fan died just like that, the people of the divine court would feel as if a mountain had been lifted from their hearts. How is it? Many people in the divine punishment city were whispering. They were also paying close attention, eager to know the result. Clang! Pieces of the cauldron floated among the star fragments. One by one, they rushed together and started to reform. They contained astonishing lightning and divine might. Much of the tribulation's power was absorbed by it. The myriad chi cauldron reformed and shot out beams of light, even though they were small. They were like immortal swords that could split the universe. In the end, the light was restrained and it became simple and unadorned. Only the source key fell down. There were thousands of strands like waterfalls. It seemed to have a special Tao rhythm. Inside the cauldron, the primal chaos and willpower undulated like a vast ocean. It seemed small, but it was like a real world. Ye Fan, Li Haishui and the others shouted. They were most worried about Ye Fan. As for the weapon, as long as Ye Fan was still here, it would naturally be repaired. I'm fine. That tattered body slowly stood up. Even though it was extremely dismal, badly mangled, white bones everywhere, he was still alive in the end. Making it through this lightning tribulation, sighs could be heard clearly from the divine court. They were full of regret and fear. Yi Fan had survived the heavenly punishment. This might be the beginning of a nightmare for them. Becoming a martial emperor with the physical body, is this a real quasi-emperor? The tribulation suddenly stopped. Is it because his divine order chains are not visible? Is it because his body has advanced? This was the question in many people's hearts, but no one dared to ask. Even though Ye Fan's aura was restrained, he still had a terrifying might, no matter what. With the word emperor, he could go anywhere in the universe. Ye Fan's body was dripping with blood. The amount of golden blood decreased, and the amount of red blood increased. It was sparkling and translucent like a blood diamond. This was the purest divine body blood. His wounds were healing rapidly, and the bones that had been broken by the chaotic heavenly thunder were being reconnected. At this stage, the power of longevity had been greatly enhanced, and all aspects of his body had been greatly improved. The divine court army was thrown into chaos as they fled frantically. They had been unable to do anything to Ye Fan just now, let alone now. If the sacred physique really wanted to make a fuss, not many of them would be able to survive. The commanders had long since fled. The reason why they didn't give the order was because they hoped that the massive army would be able to delay Ye Fan. The starry sky was in chaos. There were people and cultivators everywhere. People were shouting and beasts were roaring. This was a great defeat. The people of the celestial court didn't chase after them. They were in chaos and ran for their lives. All of them hated the fact that they were born with 2 more legs. They were in a constant state of anxiety. As for those with some tricks, they had already activated their formation platforms and opened the realm gates to escape. The commanders of the divine court were all sullen. They had the ambition to conquer the universe and wanted to accomplish great things in this era. They wanted to follow the person who was about to achieve the Tao and create an immortal era. They wanted to leave their illustrious names in history. They didn't expect that they would suffer such a blow when their glory had just begun. They felt like stray dogs being frightened away. Yi Fan's tribulation was a great blow to them, especially Yu Mo, Yu Lan, and the others. All of their faces were pale. They had looked down on the world during these years and believed themselves to be heaven-warping talents. In the end, when they were compared with the divine physique, they discovered that they were nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs. The difference in their minds was too great. Yi Fan succeeded in crossing the tribulation and his body reached the quasi-emperor realm. The difference between before and after was too great. The divine court realm army collapsed before they even made a move. Ordinary soldiers can leave, but some people have to pay the price, said Ye Fan. He recovered. A sea of stellar force gathered over, all of it pouring into his body. That place was like a bottomless pit, making all of the stars in the sky dim. He was looking for Yu Ruo. She had a quasi-emperor artifact on her, and she was the one who gave the order to launch this attack. If he let them all go without any punishment or intimidation, then the people of the divine court would think that they were lucky and might become even more vicious next time. Although she was the first to leave, this emperor has long since locked onto her. I left a formation pattern guiding mark on her body, said the Black Emperor. Formation patterns appeared on the Black Emperor's palm and pointed in a direction. The specific coordinates of the starry sky were directly displayed. Yu Ruo actually hadn't gone far. It was obvious that she wanted to continue observing this starry sky. You're quite daring. I'll go capture her. The savage held the wolf tooth club and licked his lips, revealing his snow-white teeth. He had long since noticed that although Yu Ruo was a humanoid creature, her original body was definitely not human. He was prepared to capture her and cook her. She has the scarlet blood iron hammer in her hands. If she hits you, you definitely won't be able to take it. "It's better if I go," said Li Tian, revealing an evil smile. "Perverted thief," the savage muttered in a low voice. "I'll go." After speaking, Yi Fan tore open the cosmos with his hands. He took a step inside and disappeared. The sky above the divine punishment city was completely silent. Everyone was shocked. The quasi-emperor's physical body was indeed terrifying. From now on, even without the order laws, he could enter and exit the cosmos as he pleased. It was better than any domain gate opened by a formation platform. "Do you guys think that little Ye Fan can fly now?" Li Heishui asked. When they thought of this question, their expressions became strange. Ye Fan didn't have laws and Dao. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to fly. But now, did he still need to fly? His physical body was unparalleled, and he could go wherever he wanted to go. The others were also petrified for a long time. At this stage, perhaps he didn't need laws and Dao anymore. Now, he had enough power to travel the world. Bang! In just an instant, a light sound came from the sky above the divine punishment city. The void split open, and Ye Fan returned with the great sage realm, Yu Ruo. He threw her at the feet of everyone. The scarlet blood iron hammer was broken into 2 pieces. It was dim and without light. Heavens, a quasi-emperor weapon was destroyed just like that. This is truly heaven-defying. Everyone was shocked. Ye Fan had only gone for a moment, yet such a result had already occurred. How could they not be scared? It was too terrifying. What kind of tyrannical power was this? In that instant, everyone was horrified. They suddenly realized that the strongest aspect of a saint physique was its physique. When it reached the ultimate realm, it could directly challenge a great emperor. And now, Ye Fan's physical body had become a quasi-emperor. He had already walked on this path. Once the blood in his body completely turned red, he would become an uncrowned great emperor in this generation. This was just the beginning. But he had already destroyed a quasi-emperor weapon with his bare hands. It was truly shocking. When the million-strong army of the Divine Court heard that Ye Fan was pardoning them, most of them stayed behind. Now that they saw the daughter of the Divine Court Lord being thrown on the ground, they were all stunned. Kacha! With a flick of Ye Fan's finger, Yu Ruo's body trembled violently. Her cultivation was completely shaved off, and she was directly reduced to a mortal. She released a heart-wrenching cry, a black horn grew on her head, and a pair of grey wings appeared on her back. Her true form was revealed. This was a great sage, and even more so, the adopted daughter of the Divine Court Lord. She was crippled with a flick of his finger. This caused everyone's breathing to become hurried. There was no longer any discussion in the cosmos. Everyone watched nervously. Ye Fan threw her into the million-strong army and said, "I'll spare your life. Take care of yourself. The Celestial Court doesn't cause trouble, but it isn't afraid of it either." The hundreds of thousands of troops of the Divine Court were silent for a long time before a commotion broke out. Their sect lord's position had definitely been challenged, but Ye Fan was fearless. "What are you making a ruckus for? Does the Divine Court think that it can command the world? It was you who attacked the Celestial Court first," Dongfang Ye said. "Don't think that just because a general has achieved the Dao, he can rule the world and control the universe. If he has the ability, let him go and flatten the life-forbidden zone. Don't think that just because a general has achieved the Dao, he can intimidate others. He also has a weakness. Unless he can kill everyone in the Celestial Court in a day. But can he do that?" The Black Emperor sneered. Some words didn't need to be said. The Divine Court Lord had 9 sons, and they weren't adopted sons. If he dared to act wantonly, Ye Fan would naturally kill his 9 sons. Now that Ye Fan had reached this realm, it was too easy for him to kill someone, and it was very difficult for the Divine Court Lord to stop a saint who wanted to leave. This was because if he refused to fight, he could find a random place to hide, and it would be very difficult to find him. The universe was too big. What does the Divine Court Lord count for? Back then, when the paragons in the life-forbidden zone were wreaking havoc, he was there, hiding like a turtle. Now, he's acting mighty, but if he wants to harm little Ye, he'll become the enemy of all living beings. Li Tian sneered. There's no need to fear him. With little Nan Nan here, if he dares to enter the celestial court and act, he'll be scared to death. Li Haishui said, the divine court lord suffered a great defeat. The quasi-emperor's scarlet blood hammer was broken into two. Yu Ruo was crippled, and the million-strong army was defeated. This truly shocked the world and caused a huge wave. All of this was done by a single person. The Saint Ye Fan, who was thought to have gone into seclusion, had returned and risen once again. He would walk on his own path of legend and shake the starry sky. This gave rise to an unimaginable wave. However, this temporarily had nothing to do with Ye Fan and the others. Once the matter in the Divine Punishment City was settled, they would be on their way. The monkey had left for 10 years to participate in the battle between the ancient princes. Meanwhile, Ye Tong and Yang Shi had also fought on the final emperor's path for 10 years. There was no news of them at all. Apart from this, Pang Bo and Ye Fan brushed past each other. 10 years ago, he also entered Imperial Pass. They wanted to take a look. Yi. It was easy to come out after all, but it's hard to go back in. As long as Ye Fan approached, the Crystal Stele and Imperial Pass would disappear. Withdrawing from this place meant giving up. It would be extremely difficult to enter again, because he wouldn't be acknowledged. It was rumored that this was a rule set by the great ancient emperors. In the end, Yi Fan and the others arrived at the final trial of the human ancient path. There wasn't a single person here who wasn't shocked. Back then, Yi Fan carried an immortal sword and chased after the Tao protectors here, forcing them to flee to the ends of the world, living in constant fear, leaving behind too many legends. The news of Ye Fan's group defeating Divine Court's great army of 1 million. The flesh deity becoming a quasi-emperor hadn't reached this place yet, because their speed was too fast, rushing ahead. However, no one dared to act disrespectfully towards them, together with the legendary greedy Black Emperor who would flay skin to bone. Savage barbarian king appearing, Li Tian and Yan Yixi, whose names shook the world. This naturally made everyone feel reverence. In this place, they didn't waste too much effort to obtain an ancient order. It was given to them by a Tao protector, allowing them to enter Imperial Pass with this. This was a secret treasure. Since the ancient times, only a few people could use this type of special passage. It was clear that Ye Fan had the qualifications to be one of these people. With a schwa sound, they disappeared from their original location, directly appearing in a grand and imposing giant city. This place was majestic, draconic energy swirling about. Ancient watchtowers majestic. This wasn't the #1 Imperial Pass, but rather the 5th city. Everyone already slaughtered their way here, experiencing 10 years of bloody struggle. Now, all that remained were the most powerful. The city was extremely grand. If one looked carefully, they would discover that they were all built from stars, even though the Black Emperor, Dongfang Ye, and the others were used to seeing great scenes. They were still a bit stupefied. Just how many stars were used? Every single star was refined, ranging from the size of a wash basin to several zhang in length, condensed to this size, condensing incomparable Tao pattern natural laws. When building a city like this, there was no need to lay formations. It was sturdy enough on its own, moreover, as the 5th Imperial Pass. How could there not be formation patterns? These were all symbols left behind by great emperors to protect this place. Even if exceptional experts fought here, it would still be difficult for them to destroy the city. Palaces floated in the air, immortal mists hazy between the pavilions, extremely faintly discernible, as if they arrived in an immortal paradise. There were actually hawking sounds in the city, leaving those who were still a bit alarmed, a bit stupefied. What kind of place was this? How could there be these types of sounds in the imperial road struggle? Upon closer inspection, there were actually stalls set up at both sides of the road, moreover quite a few people, bustling with activity. What is going on? Those people were confused. Everlasting silver essence. There are several dozen grains of immortal tears green golden sand mixed within, rarely seen in this world. Fiend god bone, the remains of a true fiend race supreme being, can be forged into a divine artifact. That was a 4-inch long white bone, as if it was some type of creature's finger bone. It was dull and lacking luster, but many people surrounded it, all of them expressing their amazement. Stellar divine sand, gathered from all regions of the heavens. A total of 10,000 jinn. If refined properly, there is a chance of turning it into a quasi-emperor artifact. Someone shouted. A group of people crowded over, surrounding it so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Lightning sound. Precious tree contains the world's source lightning sound. Through it one can understand the mysteries of heavenly tribulation. The world's rarest divine tree species. That was an ancient tree, half the height of a person, branches like horned dragons. Even though it wasn't that tall, it was bold and powerful. Lightning radiance roiling, containing a type of most fundamental magical Tao power. A group of people swarmed over, all of them looking like they had to obtain this precious tree. All of them rubbing their fists and palms together, hoping to get their hands on it. Yifan, Yan Yixi, and the others entered the city in a low-profile manner. Through their observations, they learned that there were natives in some imperial passes who were the guardians of the ultimate ancient path, the 9 imperial passes, as well as this ancient path, as well as the ancient places of life similar to the flying immortal battlefield. All of them needed people to watch over them. After endless years, they needed to carry out necessary adjustments, repairs, and other things. The people needed were the descendants of the heroes who had taken this path and failed. They couldn't leave this place. The number of people here wasn't that ridiculously high. The entire ancient path, 9 imperial passes, and even some ancient life battlefield that was involved in this place. These managers added up to half a city's population. Now, after the participants of the contest for supremacy had reached the last few rounds, these people began to appear to conduct the necessary transactions, and the things they took out were all rare items. Some heroes from the flourishing ancient region felt ashamed after seeing this. Even the treasures of an ancient land of life couldn't compare to a single treasure taken out by these people. The worst of these traded items were still great sage-level materials. Moreover, top-level. Among them, no lack of divine materials needed to forge a quasi-emperor magical artifact. It was to the extent where if one's luck was good enough, discovering a small piece of immortal gold or other ancient emperor material wasn't impossible. Many experts who fought their way here discovered that the divine objects they relied on, the ones they were so proud of, were nothing more than street goods in comparison, completely unpresentable. Heaven's stealing sword, a treasure that has a chance of evolving into a quasi-emperor artifact, the deity within undergoing rebirth, reawakening, able to recognize it a second time. It is a supreme treasure that can only be encountered and not sought after. When the ancestor fought the decisive battle on the emperor path, he was only a hair away from achieving the Tao. The immortal shocking bow that was passed down is the most powerful quasi-emperor artifact. Nothing it can't break through, shooting gods and slaughtering devils, a single arrow able to shatter the cosmos. Even though it is damaged now, it isn't like there is no chance of repairing it. The city was bustling with activity, many stalls at both sides of the streets. They looked simple, able to open up after laying out a straw mat, but there really were many extraordinary divine objects. There were some ancestral magical artifacts that were left behind by unmatched geniuses who charged into the 9 imperial passes back then, possessing the wondrous mysteries of seizing the natural luck of heaven and earth. Of course, if one wanted to exchange for these things, they had to have ancient scriptures, secret techniques, and other things of equivalent value, or else they definitely wouldn't be able to exchange for them. They wouldn't use divine source and other things to trade like ordinary cultivators at all. The Black Emperor's eyes were dazzled, saliva about to flow out. However, he forcefully restrained his urge, not becoming a robber. At this time, he put on a dog appearance, his body standing up, even his dog head becoming a human head. The other parts still the same. Good stuff. Good stuff. I really want to rob them all. the Black Emperor muttered inwardly. However, when he considered his true strength, he felt like if he provoked everyone's wrath, it was still unknown who would rob who. The main street in the city was bustling with activity, divine materials and supreme treasures being traded. Meanwhile, the other regions were full of an extremely tense atmosphere, from the flying immortal battlefield until here, after 10 years of bloody battles, many people died. However, later generations came in an endless stream, replenishing the losses. After so many years had passed, the various clans' ancient paths still hadn't been sealed. There were always young faces who set foot on this journey, and in the end, quite a few people rose above the rest, slaughtering their way here. The number of humans in the city wasn't few compared to the other races, but compared to the tens of thousands of races, they would be quickly drowned out. Yi Fan and the others entered the city in a low-profile manner, purposely concealing themselves, not drawing the attention of the various clans. That person just now seemed a bit familiar, like the holy physique Yi Fan. Didn't he go into seclusion? He shouldn't have appeared again. Only a few people revealed suspicious expressions, but they didn't continue chasing after him. It was because this type of action in the city was extremely dangerous, possibly triggering a life-and-death battle. In the following few days, they learned a lot of information. Yang Shi and Ye Tong entered the God and Devil battlefield outside the 5th Pass, already fighting a bloody battle. After all these years, a few powerful figures didn't immediately confront each other. They all chose to advance, feeling restraining fear towards each other, not rashly taking action. Of course, there were also people who were truly confident, carrying out grooming plans for some of the younger generation's experts, hoping that they could have a pinnacle battle in the future. It was said that the most powerful expert of this generation of the God race, the Divine Lord, was such a person. He had already spread the word that no one could touch the people he designated, and if anyone dared to intercept them, he would immediately kill the person who provoked him. This wasn't just ordinary confidence. It was bordering on paranoia. Among these rumors, there was a name that Ye Fan and the others were familiar with, Ji Chengdao. 300 years had passed, and this child had long grown up. His martial arts were world-shaking, and he had obtained the divine king Ji Haoyue and the Ji family's true inheritance. As soon as he entered the only true path, he was targeted by the Divine Lord. It was estimated that in 20 years, he would be able to have a small battle with him, and in 50 years, he would be able to fight with him. 10 years ago, Ji Chengdao entered the only true path and passed by Ye Fan. This time, they also came to see the little fellow, hoping that nothing bad would happen to him. Sigh. Where did Brother Haoyu go? First, he was defeated on the ancient path, and then Jizi died in his place. It was a huge blow to him, and he disappeared after he grew up. I really don't know how he passed these years. Li Heishui sighed. Oh, he's at the 4th stage. I heard that a group of people will be arriving here in a few days, and we might be able to see him. This was the information that Ye Fan, Dongfang Ye, and the others had learned. In fact, in just 2 days, the 5th city was in an uproar. That group of people had arrived, and Ji Chengdao was among them. As soon as he entered the city, he roared and shook the whole city, saying that he wanted to challenge the Divine Lord. This was a group of up-and-coming youngsters, and every one of them was outstanding. Their mounts were all rare mutants, and the people and mounts were all arrogant and unruly. Isn't that a sky-devouring beast? It's actually been tamed as a mount. A demonic soul horse. Such a powerful fluctuation, and the patterns on its body are all natural Dao talismans. This group of people entered the city and attracted people's attention. Among them, Ji Chengdao looked similar to the Divine King, Ji Haoyue. He had the heroic bearing of his father when he was young, sword-like eyebrows and tiger-like eyes. His body was tall and straight, and he walked with a majestic gait. No one would have thought that he wanted to challenge the Divine Lord as soon as he entered the city. One had to know that the strongest cultivator of the Shen clan was famous on the Emperor's Road, and he always had an overwhelming advantage in battle. Back then, the one who defeated Brother Haoyue was probably the Divine Lord, and his mother was most likely from the Shen clan. He wants an explanation. Yan Yixi said. More than 300 years had passed. Although Ji Haoyue didn't say anything about what had happened back then, they had found out part of the truth through various inquiries. The Divine Lord might go to the Soaring Sky Tower, Di Tian, Fairy Qingxi, the Shen clan's goddess Shen Lan, the Great Divine Spirit, the Nine Tribulations Taoist, and many other strong cultivators are also going there to gather. Someone transmitted his voice. It wasn't out of good intentions, but because he wanted to see a fierce battle immediately, to see a fierce battle between giants. Li Heishui was about to step forward and pull Ye Futian over, but he was stopped by Black Emperor, who said, "Let's wait and see. He's still young. He can take a beating." Although that was what he said, they all followed behind. "Hey, little guy, buy my celestial stunning bow. Back then, my ancestor used it to kill the Shen clan's Gemini. If you can repair it, no one from the Shen clan can stop you." Along the way, someone tried to promote the bow to Ji Chengdao. "I don't have anything to exchange." Ji Chengdao shook his head. "Don't worry, you can buy it on credit. Pay me back in the future. You'll have something I'm interested in sooner or later." It was a bearded man with a fake smile. Not interested. Ji Chengdao turned around and left, ignoring him. On the other side, Li Tian was hopping mad. Yan Yixi also widened his eyes in shock. They recognized the bearded man. More than 300 years ago, when Ye Fan and the other two rushed to Ziwei Galaxy to find little Nanan, they had seen him. At that time, the three of them disguised themselves as ordinary people. In the end, a bearded man at the Dao Palace realm came up to them and shamelessly wanted to take Li Tian and Yan Yixi, who were at the Saint King realm, as disciples. He was rejected by the two in anger. Now, they actually met again. There was definitely something wrong with this bearded man. He wasn't an ordinary person. Back then, I accepted two brats as disciples, but was rejected. Today, I'm offering a bow and was rejected again. Is it easy for an old man like me? It's hard to be a good person. The bearded man shook his head, turned around, and disappeared into the crowd. Who's the brat? Don't go. Stop. Li Tian wanted to chase, but he was held back by Ye Fan. He shook his head and said, "You can't catch up. He has already entered the starry sky." So fast, in the blink of an eye, Li Tian was shocked. In the blink of an eye, the bearded man had disappeared into thin air. Quasi-Emperor. Ye Fan only spat out these two words. His expression was solemn as he stared at the starry sky in the distance. It was only after a long while that he retracted his gaze. Everyone felt a wave of alarm. Li Tian and Yan Yixi were both a bit stupefied. They had previously brushed shoulders with a quasi-emperor, unable to say anything for a long time. Sky Rushing Restaurant, the tallest building in the 5th city. It floated in mid-air, purple energy pervading the air, full of an auspicious and peaceful aura. Fairy Qingxi has arrived. Multicolored light erupted in endless streaks, auspicious brilliance streaking out in thousands of streaks. A gentle and graceful figure descended, her hair coiled up high, skin sparkling white. She was an outstanding beauty, as if she was a fairy that walked out from a painting. She was elegant and exceptional. Drawing the attention of many cultivators, there was someone who welcomed her in the building. This was clearly a Dao comprehension building, opened by Imperial Pass's natives, specially made for exceptional experts to drink tea, exchange pointers, and gather together. Dai Tian Great One has arrived. Sounds of discussion immediately sounded from the distance. It is rumored that he was previously the opponent of the holy physique Ye Fan. Back then, even though he suffered greatly, it wasn't shameful, losing to the holy physique Ye Fan's Green Emperor incarnation. Right, I heard that this person really is formidable, actually able to contend against Green Emperor, fighting for such a long time. Even though he was defeated, it was still an honorable one. Woo, what a pity for the holy physique. Di Tian's appearance drew everyone's attention and discussions. Light-Shaking King has arrived. In front of Sky Rushing Restaurant, another wave of noise erupted. After all these years, the light-shaking heavenly art had reached great completion, shaking up the starry skies, unmatched, becoming one of the most dazzling emperor stars on this path. 4 stone horses galloped over like thunder, their stomps making the earth rumble. They pulled a stone carriage, from which a tall holy spirit walked out. It was the stone man, called Donghua. 9 tribulation clouds filled the air. A Taoist with a long sword on his back came. He did not have a sage-like temperament. On the contrary, his eyes were piercing like cold lightning. These were all overlords of the true path. Their powers were monstrous and they were invincible. They had never been defeated. Moreover, they were wary of each other. These people had not fought to the death yet. This stone man has killed too many people. He is full of killing intent. He has never left anyone alive. All his enemies have died. The 9 tribulations Taoist is not a good person either. The path behind him can be said to be bloody. These 2 people had killed their way to fame. As soon as they entered the Tower of Soaring Clouds, they attracted a lot of discussion. The goddess of the divine race, Shen Lan, is here. Someone was surprised. In the distance, flower petals danced in the air. A beautiful woman came over. Sparkling petals swirled in the air, making the place look incomparably magnificent. This was a female cultivator of the divine race. Normally, few people dared to provoke her because it was rumored that she might have some blood relationship with the Divine Lord. Now, there was no one who did not fear the overlord of the divine race. What was surprising was that the 2 cultivators from the divine race arrived separately. They did not go the same way. A grey flood dragon came across the sky. It was hundreds of feet long and pulled a carriage. Chaotic energy filled the air as it went straight to the Tower of Soaring Clouds. Everyone gasped. This old flood dragon was a peak existence of the great sage level. Yet he had become a laborer pulling the carriage. It was truly shocking. Everyone knew who had arrived. It was undoubtedly the Divine Lord. There was no one else but him. He had subdued a total of 8 mounts. These people were all the strongest cultivators of their regions who had walked the ancient path of the stars. Now, they had become laborers pulling the carriage. The Divine Lord was considered low-key. He only used 1 wild beast to pull the carriage. He did not bring all of his mounts, but it was still shocking. The grey flood dragon turned into an old man. He stood up and lifted the curtain of the carriage. A man came out and attracted everyone's attention. This was a man of medium build. He didn't look tall, but he had a kind of natural majesty to him, as if he was the ruler of the world. His head of purple hair was extremely thick, and his purple eyes were almost demonic. The lightning in his eyes solidified, and when it swept over everyone, it made them feel as if knives were scraping at their bones, arrows piercing their marrow. It was terrifying beyond compare. He wore an imperial crown on his head that flowed with purple golden light, tying up his purple hair. He wore a divine emperor robe that was embroidered with scenes of ascension as well as images of gods and devils bowing to him. His entire body flowed with multicolored light, and he exuded an oppressive aura of nobility. He also possessed a domineering aura, as if he was the peak of the world. He wasn't very muscular, but he made others revere and fear him. With every step he took, there was a special type of fluctuation. The heaven and earth resonated with his Tao. He didn't seem like a human, but rather like the most ancient deity that descended into the mortal world, looking down on the mortal world. Everyone who was swept by his gaze felt as if they were suffocating and couldn't help but take a few steps back. The muscles and bones in their bodies felt like they were going to split apart, and they were unable to resist. This was precisely a divine being, God race's current generation's most powerful expert, unmatched throughout the ancient paths. After entering Imperial Pass, he even more so suppressed the experts of all clans until they couldn't even raise their heads. Only when he entered Heaven Rushing Tower did everyone release a breath of relief, daring to speak out. So this is a divine being, too terrifying. Just looking at him makes one feel as if they are falling into an abyss, about to self-destruct. Who can stop him? Worthy of being someone who subdued a desolate beast, someone who even the great sage could only pull a carriage for. A group of supreme experts all entered. Ji Chengdao also arrived. Quite a bit of the armor on his body damaged, dyed in dark red bloodstains. He directly went upstairs. He came to make a scene, wishing to fight against a divine being. This had long triggered a commotion. Quite a few people followed him upstairs, all of them wishing to see what was going on. This tower was extremely tall and also extremely grand. There were spatial, natural laws within. Forget about the experts who only came to join in on the liveliness. Even if 100,000 people entered at the same time, it wouldn't be an issue. The inside of the highest floor was extremely indistinct. There was a vast, tall platform that seemed to be formed from a giant mountain that had been cut off by someone. Chaotic energy pervaded the air. There were jade tables there, one after another, each of them corresponding to a stone chair. The seats were quite far apart from each other, and the overlords of the current era were seated there. Those with weaker cultivations couldn't ascend the giant platform that was like a broken mountain, only able to look up from below. It was because the people above didn't hide anything, the aura that flowed out extremely oppressive, formlessly cutting off everyone's paths. This made many people feel discouraged. They knew that after today's event, their emperor paths already grew dim. There was no way they could contend against the people above. They were already defeated before they even took action. However, there were a few who still had tender faces that weren't discouraged, inwardly clenching their fists. They were still young, still had time to sharpen themselves. Divine being, do you dare fight? Ji Chengdao was extremely direct. With a single step, he ascended the ancient platform that was half a mountain tall. With a loud shout, the entire building trembled thrice. After so many years, his heart was extremely bitter. He couldn't see his mother, and his father had also left for the distance. Even now, he still remembered that when he grew up, his naturally unyielding father's hair was already white. He silently prepared himself, dressed in grey clothes, dressed like a slave, leaving into the distance. He couldn't stop him even if he wanted to. And even now, he didn't know where he was. His father was known as the Divine King more than 300 years ago. Regardless of whether it was in the northern Dipper star domain or on the ancient path he walked, he was unrivaled, unyielding and unyielding. However, in the end, he went into seclusion. After secretly understanding a lot, Ji Chengdao found out that the past matters were related to the divine being. He suppressed his mother, defeated his father, and ruthlessly and almost humiliated the divine king. Chasing him away, more than 300 years had passed. Ji Chengdao's student surpassed his master, becoming far more powerful than his father back then. He walked to the great sage's desperate situation. This was a barrier that stopped many people. Even the older generation was only so-so. They were all blocked here and couldn't pass. Although he was relatively young, he was no weaker than others. Child, you still can't do it. I've said before, at least 50 years later, you can only fight against the strong. Now, you are still far from it. On the high platform, the divine being spoke. His voice was hazy, like a celestial being sitting in the chaos. His expression couldn't be seen clearly. Pretentious, Ji Chengdao sneered. He glanced at everyone present, then stared at the divine being and said, "Let's fight with real action." The divine being sat there like a clay statue without any emotions. He said, "I'm just afraid that I'll hurt you and cause your Dao heart to become unstable. Go cultivate for another 50 years. I'll wait for you. I, Ji Chengdao, am not afraid of failure. I grew up under the beating of one elder after another. So why would I be afraid of a little setback?" The Black Emperor nodded. He had been tortured by them since he was young, not to mention the roar of the barbarians and the bite of the king dog. Even the heartless Taoist used the Heaven's Calamity Pass technique to train him in hellish ways. The biggest advantage of the divine being was his tenacity. He was not afraid of failure, and the more he suffered, the stronger he would become. After each battle, he would sum it up and improve to the next level. For this, Yitong taught him several forbidden techniques, such as the Jie and Xing characters, to protect his life. A bell-like laughter was heard. The goddess of the divine race, Shen Lan, stood up and waved at Ji Chengdao. She said, "Good child, you are ambitious. Come to me." "Who are you?" Ji Chengdao didn't appreciate it. He knew that this female expert was also from the divine race and didn't have a good impression of them. Sigh. You really inherited your parents' arrogance. I don't have any bad intentions towards you. I just think that you are very cute and stubborn. Not bad. The divine being is nothing. You should scold him a little. I support you. Shen Lan had a smile on her face, as if she wanted to see the world in chaos. Ji Chengdao sneered and ignored her. He continued to stare at the divine being. You want to fight with me? The divine being said. His eyes suddenly became many times colder, shooting out two terrifying beams of light. The people below were so shocked that they took a few steps back. Their faces were pale, and many people were coughing up blood as if they had been struck by lightning. How powerful was this power? It was just a gaze, but it was like two hammers of punishment from the god of thunder, injuring the great sage who was walking on the emperor's path. Not bad. Ji Chengdao stood there like a javelin. His expression didn't change. His fighting spirit reached the clouds, and his aura rose to the extreme. Very well, come sit next to me. I will give you a chance to fight in the future. The divine being said, why should I sit next to you? Ji Chengdao was not happy. I mean, well, the people you followed in the past were all useless and wasted a lot of your time. I will teach you personally in the future, the divine being said expressionlessly. He looked more and more like an ancient god statue, shrouded in mist. You don't have the right to say that. Ji Chengdao's face darkened. He is your uncle, so he won't hurt you. I am your aunt, so I can guarantee that. Shen Lan, the goddess of the god clan, said. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Their hearts were in turmoil. Ji Chengdao's mother was the sister of the divine being, and Shen Lan, for many people, it was the first time they had heard this, and they found it unbelievable. The blood of the god clan flows in your body, but I sealed the god master fragment when you were young. Come back to the god clan with me, and I will open it for you, the divine being said coldly. No need. My goal is to defeat you. Obviously, Ji Chengdao had already guessed the relationship between them. Although he wanted to kill him, he still had a sense of propriety. You can't? You have been wasted by a bunch of useless people. Follow me from now on, and I will teach you personally. You can fight with me in 50 years. The divine being said emotionlessly, who do you think you are? Ji Chengdao didn't appreciate it and became angry. His freedom was taught by his father, the Black Emperor, Duan De, Dongfang Ye, Li Heishui, and Ye Tong. He wouldn't allow others to look down on him. In my opinion, the so-called celestial court is a joke. A true expert can kill his way through the universe alone. Any organization is nothing, the divine being said calmly. Beside him, someone looked unhappy. It was the top expert from the celestial court, and he was called Young Sovereign Lord behind his back. He was the youngest son of the celestial court's sovereign lord, and he had also walked this path. He felt that the divine being's attack was too broad. Let's not talk about this first. We are just sitting down to discuss some things. Someone invited us to drink some divine tea. My child, come sit with me. Don't be angry, Shen Lan said as she walked towards Ji Chengdao. At this moment, Di Tian stood up with an amiable smile on his face. A ball of resplendent light appeared in his palm, and the moment it appeared, the great Tao rumbled as 10,000 types of Tao laws cascaded down, drowning the entire platform. This was extremely shocking. Source of the Tao. Many people below exclaimed in shock. All of them stared with wide eyes. This was definitely a heaven-defying treasure. This was especially so now. As one's cultivation base grew higher and higher, cultivation would become increasingly difficult. This kind of source of the Tao that obtained the recognition of the heavens and earth and was bestowed upon geniuses displayed its value even more. There was only one path before everyone. If they could obtain the recognition of the heavens and earth, they would have a chance to become the quasi-emperor. He really has the source of the Tao. Everyone sighed in admiration, envy, and jealousy. Such a thing was rarely seen since ancient times. It was hard to encounter and couldn't be begged for. It was one of the most precious divine treasures in the eyes of cultivators. Many people's eyes turned red. Di Tian refined the source of the Tao, using it to steam a jade teapot. The fragrance of tea permeated the air, and in the end, the source of the Tao entered the teapot, nourishing and nourishing it. At the very end, a translucent jade cup appeared on every stone table. The fragrance wafted through the air, and there were also thousands of laws of the Tao being nurtured within, causing everyone to sink into a state of Tao comprehension. I'm ashamed. After so many years, although I obtained the source of the Tao, I still couldn't truly fuse it with my immortal foundation. What a pity. I'll use this to offer everyone to enjoy this tea together. Ditian spoke. The source of the Tao flew out from the jade teapot, clearly dimming a little. He kept it and it vanished from sight. Many people raised their cups. The Great Might Holy Spirit and the 9 Tribulations Taoist were all moved. Such a thing was too rare. They truly needed it. Even the Al-Qaid monarch and Yin Tiande had strange expressions on their faces. Divine light flashed in their eyes, although they didn't say anything. Great waves surged through their hearts. This was the first time Dongfang Ye, Li Heishui, and the others saw Yin Tiande. They couldn't help but nod their heads silently. This person was definitely extraordinary. He wasn't majestic, but he had an innate Tao charm to him, like the reincarnation of an immortal king. Amidst his transcendent aura, there was also a sharpness hidden within, causing people to revere him. So this is Yin Tiande. Back then, for the sake of ancient divine scriptures, he dared to fight against the human king, Taoist Qing Gu, and several other grand completion kings. He even killed his sworn brother, Taoist Sankei's father, without hesitation. Domineering, ruthless, decisive, truly a character that's difficult to deal with. Li Heishui sighed, feeling that this person wasn't easy to provoke. He was definitely a terrifying enemy. On the ancient platform, the fragrance of tea could be smelled from afar, causing the people below to feel envious. Don't drink it. When many people raised their cups, the voice of the Black Emperor rang out in Ji Chengdao's ears. Ji Chengdao, who had reached the minor completion stage, felt his heart trembling. He naturally wouldn't drink it. It was just that he didn't expect the Black Emperor to come. He felt extremely agitated and excited in the depths of his heart. The Black Emperor had seen the scene just now. With his personality, he naturally had to express something. Whether it was the Divine Lord, Yin Tiande, or Ditian, they all made him very unhappy. In a corner below the platform, the Black Emperor took out a few jade basins and filled them with divine water. He cut open the sealed source of the Tao and threw them in separately. He called out to Dongfang Ye, Li Tian, and Li Heishui, pointing at their feet and then at the jade basins. You're so wicked. How will those people feel when the time comes? At this moment, no one noticed because the Black Emperor and the others were in a corner behind the crowd. Moreover, they had used the flawless heaven-deceiving formation and had been very low-key the whole time. On the mountainous giant platform, every single stone table was surrounded by chaotic energy, hazy and indistinct. The fragrance of tea wafted through the air, spreading downwards. Quite a few people raised their cups, gesturing to each other. This was a rare opportunity. Many experts below sighed inwardly. The divine tea that contained the source of Tao was greatly beneficial for cultivation. This type of opportunity could only be encountered and not sought. Child, why aren't you drinking it? Shen Lan asked Ji Chengdao, her tone full of concern and affection. I don't care. Ji Chengdao shook his head. This was the truth. It wasn't like he hadn't seen it before. Back then, the Celestial Court had a few pieces, their uses unimaginable. In other words, they were ridiculously extravagant. The source of Tao is a rare treasure from past to present. Some ancient great sages even borrowing its power to cultivate. If you have the opportunity to obtain it, in the future, you will at the very least become a quasi-emperor. The 9 Tribulations Taoist spoke. Radiance shot out in all directions when a stone person's eyes opened and closed, flesh growing on both arms. The blood flowing within his body couldn't be hidden at all. As if a great body was rising and falling, killing intent faintly discernible. Everyone knew that the Holy Spirit lineage and the Ye Fan lineage had a great grudge, fighting each other. It was unknown just how many Holy Spirits had fallen. Even Ye Fan's great disciple Ye Tong had the ability to kill the most powerful flame spirit, Kang Yan, leaving behind an illustrious reputation, making many people feel restraining fear on the only true path. What does a little child understand? What are you boasting for? The Great Might Holy Spirit said coldly he comprehended the Tao in Imperial Pass for 10 years, believing that he might have already taken a step into the quasi-emperor realm, reaching a higher level. In the near future, he was going to take action against Ye Tong and Yang Shi. At this time, Ji Chengdao came, also becoming his target. If not for the divine supreme being here, he might very well have coldly taken action. When Ji Chengdao saw him raise his teacup, he revealed a strange smile. Are the children from the celestial court all so short-sighted? Someone ridiculed in secret. There were even more people who raised their cups, expressing their gratitude towards Di Tian, casting strange looks towards Ji Chengdao, even though they didn't say anything. Their expressions expressed everything. Ji Chengdao was also smiling. He didn't even give the teacup on the stone table a second look. He didn't care at all. Young people are always hot-blooded and impulsive, always feeling that they will become the strongest in the world in the future. 100 years later, when they suddenly look back, they realize that there was once a cup of Tao comprehension source tea in front of them, and they missed it just like that. An expert from the brutal dragon race teased, shaking his head as he spoke. He tilted his head back and drank the divine tea in one gulp, revealing an expression of reminiscence. Little kid, your celestial court might have some good stuff, but it's nothing compared to the origin of the Tao. If you miss this opportunity, don't even think about seeing it again. The other dragon sparrow, the great sage, sneered. The people on the stage all thought highly of themselves. However, if the people in the world were to mention experts, they would definitely mention Ye Fan's name. Even if this person was already crippled, he would still be mentioned. The people of the world all said that if he wasn't ill, he would definitely rise above all the heroes, and not many people would be able to contend against him. These words would naturally make those who walked the Emperor's path and were extremely confident in themselves feel very unhappy. They would either openly or secretly feel some enmity towards the Celestial Court. The name Celestial Court truly displays a great boldness. It's just that I don't know if it has that kind of strength. In the future, there will definitely be many Tao friends who will seek confirmation. Correct, this name isn't something ordinary people can use. As long as one person spoke, it would naturally cause others to discuss it. Many people displayed hostility. Ignorant junior. You only know how to be stubborn. This kind of thing might be able to treat the Saint Physique Ye Fan's hidden injuries. Little kid, if you ask Tao brother Di Tian, he might give you some to save your uncle. Someone laughed heartily after these people finished speaking. Without exception, they all drank the divine tea and began to meditate. Their bodies blossomed with precious light, and tens of thousands of strands of Tao laws spread out. They were all people who knew what was good and what was bad. They knew that the origin of the Tao tea was real and didn't tamper with it. Naturally, they would seize the opportunity to enter a state of enlightenment in order to obtain great benefits. The people on the stage spoke coldly, every one of them revealing expressions of mockery. The divine sovereigns didn't care about this at all, allowing Ji Chengdao to face it on his own. Celestial Court, the name isn't bad. Quite bold, but who knows how long it can exist in this world. The young Emperor Lord from the Divine Court said in an extremely casual manner. After speaking, he raised his head, draining the cup of tea. Then he narrowed his eyes, no longer paying this matter any attention. This stupid bird definitely doesn't know what happened in the outside world, the Black Emperor said quietly. Exchanging information between Imperial Pass and the outside world is quite troublesome. Li Heishui nodded and said, the two acted as if there was no one else here. Continuing their conversation, who? The Divine Court Lord's youngest son's eyebrows stood on end. Why is it so fragrant? It was unknown who was the first to notice this. Waves of fragrance wafted out from the corner. The Black Emperor removed the heaven-deceiving formation patterns, making everyone in this region reveal looks of confusion. When they turned around, they all revealed strange expressions. Those jade basins were too eye-catching, shining brilliantly. Meanwhile, there was a large golden basin at the center that was even more conspicuous. giving off a feeling of a nouveau riche. There was water and multicolored light in the jade basin. What was being soaked within wasn't tea, but rather big feet. This was especially the case when the large golden basin that was full of nouveau riche aura was soaking a pair of hairy black feet. The Black Emperor was sitting on a stone chair like a dog, treading on water and rubbing his feet. This really made everyone feel disgusted. It was one thing to soak it in private, but he actually had such a bad taste, coming here to soak his feet. Everyone was a bit petrified, not knowing what to say. They had never seen such an unreliable person before. Something's not right. Why are there 10,000 types of Tao laws flowing within the multicolored light in the water basin? This is extremely similar to the divine tea on the stage. Finally, someone saw through some clues, crying out in alarm. This immediately made the nouveau riche Black Emperor feel inwardly refreshed, feeling as if all of his dog fur was about to float up. He narrowed his eyes, releasing a few snorts. It was on purpose, definitely on purpose. This nouveau riche's display was definitely done on purpose. But it was enough to leave everyone stupefied. After a short period of peace, even a pin drop could be heard. On the mountain-like giant stage, the overlords who were sitting cross-legged behind the stone table all froze, their expressions frozen, and they couldn't even move their fingers. They were all frozen there. Who the fuck is this? They drank the tea brewed by the Tao's origin, and the other party was soaking his feet there. This was not a shameful person, but rather the pattern of the sole of the shoe being imprinted on their faces. With a ow lao sound, someone finally recovered from the petrification process and couldn't help but roar. Where would they put their faces? The struggle for supremacy in the Emperor's Road. These people were all extremely conceited. The thing that they treasured as much as their lives, the thing that they viewed as a treasure, was used as foot-washing water by someone else. Di Tian's face immediately turned deathly white, and his body was trembling. The others were also roaring to the heavens, especially the group of people who ridiculed Ji Chengdao and the Celestial Court just now. Their faces turned from red to green, and then to white. Their lungs were about to explode from anger. What? You guys want to eat me? The Black Emperor slowly raised his pair of big black legs, retracted them from the basin, and calmly looked at the heroes on the stage. Everyone was going crazy. This dog was too hateful. While the people below the stage were dumbfounded, they all wanted to laugh out loud, but after holding it in, they felt a bit horrified. One dog, one action. This was destroying an Emperor's Road. By doing this, how would a group of people with the ambition of the Emperor's Road live in the future? If word got out, it would be a joke. Would the great Emperor drink someone else's foot-washing water? Taking 10,000 steps back. That was tea, but on the same occasion, someone was using it to soak their feet. It was enough to make people feel grief and indignation. "You're going too far," someone shouted loudly, unable to endure it, and launched a crazy attack on the Black Emperor. Who was the one who ridiculed the Celestial Court just now, treating us like bumpkins and looking down on us? Today, this Emperor will show you what it means to have a foundation. You guys are only worthy of drinking my foot-washing water. The Black Emperor took out his trident, blocking the attack. Many people were flustered and exasperated. This upstart was completely doing this on purpose. What a disgraceful dog. One action was going to destroy an entire road. At this time, Dongfang Ye, Li Tian, and Li Haishui unhurriedly left the water basin. Other than the Black Emperor, the three of them also entered the water. We haven't seen the world. We didn't know that the origin of Tao could be drunk as tea, so we kept soaking our feet. Since you guys care so much, how about I give you all these basins? The Black Emperor clamored in a very unkind manner. Some of the weaker female cultivators on the stage were about to cry. Please don't say any more. Don't expose their shortcomings. How can they live like this? You stupid dog, go to hell. The great mighty Holy Spirit angrily rebuked. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling, and he pounced over from the air. A stone hand reached out towards the top of the Black Emperor's head, and his 5 fingers were like hooks. The Black Emperor called out to Ye Fan, telling him to take action. Ye Fan shook his head and said, "You caused this yourself. Settle it yourself. No one can save you." The great mighty Holy Spirit roared. He didn't recognize that the figure in the corner was also Ye Fan. "Stone, go back." The Black Emperor bared his teeth, opened his mouth, and spat out a scarlet iron hammer. This was the Quasi-Emperor's weapon that had been simply repaired after being broken by Ye Fan, and its destructive power was still very strong. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The great mighty Holy Spirit didn't dare to face it head-on. If it wasn't for the Quasi-Emperor, who could face it head-on? He retreated on the stage. Not everyone drank the tea. For example, the Divine Venerable was as steady as a boulder, surrounded by primal chaos. For example, Yao Guang and Yin Tiande were very steady. Although they thanked Di Tian, they still didn't raise their cups. As for Shen Lan and some others, their arms were somewhat stiff because they had already raised their cups and were about to bring it to their mouths. At this moment, they were extremely embarrassed. There were too many people who drank. At this moment, the face of the Divine Court's Lord's youngest son was flushed red, and his long hair danced in the wind as he stood up. The great mighty Holy Spirit was forced to retreat. But the others still didn't. Even Yao Guang and Yin Tiande stood up at this moment, and they stepped forward, wanting to attack a few people. A dog had destroyed an emperor's path. This was what many people felt. Today, they had truly become the biggest joke in the world. With so many people forcing their way over, Yi Fan naturally wouldn't just stand by and watch. He walked out from the corner, and with large strides, he blocked everyone's path and stared straight at the crowd. "Uncle!" Ji Chengdao was the first to cry out in alarm, and he rushed forward. 10 years ago, he had brushed shoulders with Ye Fan, and only today did they meet again. His face was full of excitement and surprise. "Ye Fan! He's Ye Fan! He actually came back!" many people shouted. The divine physique. Ye Fan actually appeared on the Emperor's path again. Wasn't he half crippled and had already retired? How could he appear in this world now? This shocked everyone, and they were all tongue-tied, revealing expressions of disbelief. A person who was thought to be crippled and would never be able to step on this path had appeared again. What did this mean? Everyone was shocked, continuously beating like a drum. Di Tian, Fairy Qingxi, Great Demonic God Gu Huang, Emperor Lord's son, Shen Lan, Yao Guang, Yin Tiande. Too many people looked over at the same time, those who recognized him and those who didn't. Everyone's expressions were extremely complicated. Seeing Ye Fan appear again was definitely not good news for everyone. There were some people who couldn't hide their killing intent even if they wanted to. In that instant, this place surged with battle intent, turning into a sea that surged towards Ye Fan. The divine being had long stood up, revealing a serious expression. Ye Fan came. This news swept through like a hurricane, instantly spreading through Imperial Pass, triggering a huge commotion, shaking up this place.